Today we'll be talking about the Sigma 28-70mm f2.8, the smallest standard 2.8 zoom on the Sony E-mount system. The lens comes in at $899, $100 more than the Tamron 28-75. However, it's significantly less expensive compared to the 24-70 G Master, and it's a few hundred less than the 24-70 f2.8 art lens. While 4mm on the wide end may seem a little, it is a little bit substantial, and I'll show you later in this review. The other alternatives are the 24-70mm f4 Zeiss Alpha lens and the 24-105mm G lens. Let's go into the basics of this lens, and the big one is that it's f2.8 all the way through the entire focal range. Unlike the competitors, this one only has weather sealing at the gasket. It doesn't have full weather sealing like the Tamron or Sigma Art or G Master lens. However, Sigma has said publicly that this should be able to handle light rain. The lens comes in at 470 grams, which is 80 grams lighter than the Tamron. However, if you add in the length and the weight combined, it feels a good bit less. The 24-70s are a good bit heavier. The Sigma, for instance, is 80% heavier than this lens, and the G Master is like 100% heavier, so it's like double the weight of this lens. Another way you can look at it is that this lens weighs as much as 3 compact G lenses. It's a little bit heavier than the 24GM, and it's a little bit heavier than the Tamron 17-28mm f2.8. However, that pairing is a nice one. You have 17-28, 28-70, all under 1 kilogram. That's a really nice combo to have. The lens has a 67mm front filter thread. It has a focus mode switch, water and oil repellent coating on the front element. The body is plastic build. However, the rubber cues make it feel a little bit more premium. It's designed to minimize ghosting and flare. More on that later. And lastly, this lens is made in Japan.
Made in Japan.
Let's talk about the field of view. It's 28mm, which is sort of wide, like my stomach after some noodles.
They say the camera adds 10 pounds, but it seems like you get a new camera every year.
Now for the vlogging perspective, it's gotta be done. I would not try this at home. Don't mind my poker face because this is heavy as hell. This is 28mm f2.8. That is 24mm f1.4. What do you guys think? Is this enough blur, or do you like the 1.4 more? This is really heavy. My arms are burning right now, but for the sake of YouTube, right? Testing the lens for parfocal ability, and from my brief test, it looks like it is parfocal. What do you think? Here's a brief focus breathing test at the wide end. I can't see any. And here is at the long end, and I can't see much of it either. What do you guys think? Moving on to the sharpness, I'm going to compare this up to the Tamron 28-75, which I think is a fairly nice benchmark. And what I can see is that both lenses are fairly equal towards the center, but when it comes to the edges, wide open, the Sigma has the advantage. It's a little bit sharper and crisp. So if you're looking for sharp edges wide open, Sigma it is. When it's stopped down, even one stop, it seems like a wash. Both are fantastic lenses. When it comes to the edge performance, they look kind of similar. I would give Sigma the slight edge when it comes to purely edge performance. Let's talk about bokeh. I think the rendering is nice and smooth, just like nicely shaved legs.
Your content is vulgar. Abandoned sponsors, shadow banned, demonetized.
The quality of bokeh is great on this lens, and it's nice having that consistent bokeh throughout the zoom range. Next up is the autofocus. I've tested on the A7 Mark III and the Sony A7S Mark III. I would say the performance is a tad lower than Tamron in general. However, if we're going to judge it on a scale of 100, with Sony being 100, I would put Tamron at 95 and Sigma at 93. In general, it's fast and reliable, unlike my wife.
If you weren't too busy playing around with your camera, your lenses, and yourself, she might care.
With Sony, we're talking about different levels of great autofocus. Some bodies behave better than others. Just know that you are in good hands. Next up is flare performance. Without a hood on the wide end, you can see that it has some troubles. At the long end, the flare resistance is a little bit better. If this becomes a problem for you, use the hood. That's what it's designed for. And you can see that when using the hood, the wide angle improves drastically. However, at the long end, it remains mostly the same. The hood doesn't seem to be very effective. Next up is Loca and CA. I couldn't spot any CA. However, there is some minor Loca. In general, the Loca isn't much of an issue for me. It's very minor at best. If you're more sensitive to it, take a look here and see if that's acceptable for you. Some final thoughts about this lens. The manual focus does not seem like it's linear, just conventional focus by wire. I didn't find issues manual focusing. It does work very close to linear focus motors. However, I did notice that when I was trying to rack focus to an exact point, it was not matching up. The zooming mechanism is opposite from Tamron, so if you're grabbing it, yanking it, tugging it, you're just doing it the wrong way. So to circle back on the ghosting and flaring, there has been a recall on this lens and it affects the ghosting and flaring long-term durability. So if you're watching this review in the future, be aware of the serial numbers. Be sure that you didn't get one affected by the recall. By the time you watch this review, Sigma will probably have fixed the issue. It's 2 weeks from the create date of this video. So if you're in the market for the smallest 2.8 standard zoom, I would highly recommend the Sigma 28-70.
Some samples.
And if you're looking for a moderate size and want a slightly better value, consider looking at the Tamron. It's a great lens. The autofocus is super reliable. It's had its share of firmware updates and it just works. Thank you everyone for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Be sure to like and subscribe to my channel and I will see you on the next video. Thank you and take care.